The first thing Corporal Daniel Rains noticed was the silence. Not the soft kind, like when snow fell on the Wyoming plains he grew up on, but a heavy silence, a silence that felt forced into place, like the world itself was holding its breath. The ruins of New Denver stretched before him, blackened steel and shattered glass catching faint glimmers from the alien moons above. The city had once been alive with laughter, traffic, and human chaos. Now it was a skeleton. Every collapsed tower and burned-out street was a reminder of how quickly Earth had fallen when the hegemony came. Rains adjusted the strap of his rifle, though the weapon felt more like a relic than protection. Against the aliens' armor and plasma cannons, his bullets were spitballs. Still, it gave him something to hold, something that reminded him he hadn't given up completely. He crouched beside a half-destroyed billboard, the faded words welcome to colorful Colorado split by a scorch mark. His breath fogged in the cold air. Around him, shadows moved, not enemy patrols, but people. Survivors. Men, women, and even children crept through the rubble with makeshift packs, searching for food, for shelter, for something to cling to. Rains whispered into his comm. Movement near the 6th Avenue overpass. Civilians, no hostile armor in sight. Over. The reply came with static. Copy Rains, stay low, drone sweep inbound. Rains glanced up. Against the stars, he spotted the faint shimmer of alien machines, triangular craft gliding silently through the night. Their searchlights carved across the city in perfect grids, efficient, merciless. He clenched his jaw. 6 months ago, he would have cursed them, fired wildly at the sky in defiance. Now he knew better. Humans had learned not to fight head-on, not anymore. The hegemony had taught them that lesson with blood and fire. A small hand tugged at his sleeve. Rains turned. A boy no older than 10 stared at him with wide, dirt-smudged eyes. "Mister," the boy whispered, "they took my sister, down by the old stadium. Please, you're a soldier, right?" The word soldier made something twist in Rains's gut. Once, maybe, before the invasion. Now he was just a survivor in combat boots. But he saw the desperation in the boy's eyes, and he couldn't look away. "Show me," Rains said softly. The stadium loomed like a broken crown on the horizon, its metal beams twisted and scorched. Fires still smoldered inside. As Rains and the boy crept closer, the smell hit him, smoke, oil, and the coppery tang of blood. The boy pointed to a gap in the wall. Rains crouched low and peered inside. Aliens. Tall, insectoid beings with dark carapaces that shimmered under artificial light. 4 eyes glowing faintly, mandibles clicking as they spoke in their harsh, metallic language. Hegemony soldiers. They had erected energy barriers inside the stadium, turning it into a makeshift holding pen. Dozens of humans were crammed together, guarded by armored troopers. Some were crying. Others stared blankly, broken. The boy's sister was among them. Rains spotted her by the way she clutched a ragged teddy bear to her chest. Rains's throat tightened. This wasn't the first time he'd seen a scene like this. The hegemony didn't always kill. Sometimes they studied. Sometimes they transported. Nobody knew what happened to those who were taken off-world. Nobody ever came back. Rains pressed his back against the wall and shut his eyes for a moment. He wanted to run, to tell the boy it was hopeless. But then he remembered his father's words back on the ranch years ago. "Son, sometimes all you can do is stand, even if it kills you, especially if it kills you." When he opened his eyes again, the decision was made. The plan was insane, which meant it was human. Rains crawled through the ruins until he found what he needed, a burned-out food delivery truck, half buried in debris. Its fuel tanks were intact. Its storage compartment was still filled with crates of long-rotted snacks. He pried open the compartment, ignoring the stench. Then he pulled the grenades from his belt, not many left, just enough. He worked quickly, rigging the explosives to the fuel lines, hiding them under the crates. His hands shook as he wired the detonator, not from fear, but from memory. He had seen this tactic before. His unit in Afghanistan had called it the Trojan Mule. But this time, the targets weren't human. By the time he was done, sweat dripped down his back despite the cold. He wiped his forehead, then looked at the boy. "When I give the signal, get your sister and run. Don't look back." The boy's lips trembled. "What about you?" Rains gave a thin smile. "I'll be right behind you." It was a lie, they both knew it. The delivery truck rolled forward, engine coughing to life after a little coaxing. Rains stayed low in the driver's seat, guiding it toward the stadium's main entrance. The aliens reacted immediately. Harsh clicks, weapons raised. But then one of them scanned the vehicle and lowered its weapon. The machine recognized the truck as part of the local supply chain. They waved it through. Raines's heart hammered. He guided the truck inside, right into the center of the holding pen. Humans shrank back in confusion, some covering their mouths, others staring wide-eyed. Then Raines slipped out the side, crouching low, pressing the detonator against his chest. "Now," he whispered. The boy darted forward, grabbing his sister's hand. They ran. The aliens noticed too late. Raines pressed the switch. The explosion tore the night apart. A fireball consumed the stadium, fuel tanks erupting with a roar that shook the ruins. Alien soldiers were thrown into the air like broken dolls, their energy barriers shattering under the force. Humans screamed, some in fear, some in desperate hope. Raines hit the ground hard, ears ringing, vision swimming. He forced himself up, staggered through smoke and fire, grabbed a fallen rifle. He fired wildly, covering the escape of the prisoners as chaos erupted. The boy and his sister disappeared into the night. Others followed, stumbling, crawling, running anywhere but here. And Raines, battered and bleeding, stood alone in the inferno, firing until his weapon clicked empty. The last thing he saw before the world went black was a single alien officer, standing untouched at the edge of the flames. Its 4 eyes locked on him, unblinking. It didn't raise its weapon, it didn't speak. It just watched him burn. When Raines woke, he was in chains. The air was cold, metallic. Alien light glowed faintly on smooth walls. He was aboard one of their ships. His wrists ached from the restraints. His head throbbed. He tried to move, but the chains held firm. Then a voice spoke, not in clicks, not in growls, but in English. "You are resourceful, dangerous, perhaps even useful." Raines lifted his head. Standing before him was a figure unlike the others. Taller, sleeker, armor etched with markings he didn't understand. Its voice was filtered through a translator, but the cadence was unmistakable. This wasn't a soldier, it was something worse. A commander. The alien leaned closer, its 4 eyes narrowing. "You will tell us how your people fight. You will tell us everything, because if you do not..." It gestured toward a screen. Raines's heart sank as he saw an image of the boy and his sister, alive, hiding in the ruins. "We will." The interrogation chamber was silent except for the hum of alien machinery. Smooth walls pulsed faintly with blue light, as though the ship itself was alive and breathing. The air was sharp, metallic, and too thin, every breath scraped Raines's lungs. He sat chained to a curved chair that seemed molded for his body, yet offered no comfort. The alien commander loomed over him. 4 eyes, cold and predatory, studied him with the patience of a vulture. Its mandibles twitched slightly, clicking as if tasting the air. "You fought like a soldier," the commander said through its translator, voice deep and mechanical. "But your file says you are not. You were discharged before the invasion. Why fight at all?" Raines let out a rough laugh, though it hurt his cracked ribs. "Because I didn't have a choice. You landed on our front lawn." The alien tilted its head, unreadable. "You fight knowing you cannot win. That is illogical." Raines leaned forward as far as the chains allowed. His voice was raw but steady. "That's the thing about humans, pal. We don't fight because we think we can win. We fight because losing isn't an option." The commander's eyes narrowed. It tapped a panel on the wall. A hologram bloomed in the air, grainy footage of the boy and his sister, crouched in the ruins of the stadium. They were alive, huddled under a collapsed section of concrete. "Children," the commander said. "Fragile, predictable, you risked yourself for them. Why?" Raines's throat tightened. He forced himself to keep his face hard. "Because they're ours." "Yours," the alien repeated, mandibles twitching. "You claim ownership of the weak, even at the cost of your own survival. Fascinating." The alien leaned closer, so near Raines could see faint scars etched into its carapace. "Tell me how your kind fights, or we will collect the children." Slowly. The first beating came after Raines refused to speak. They weren't like human beatings. The aliens didn't rage, didn't lose control. Everything was precise. A needle inserted just beneath the skin. A pulse of energy that set every nerve screaming. Then silence again while the commander watched, recording his reactions. "You endure pain," it observed after the 3rd session. "But you will break, all creatures break." Rains spat blood onto the floor. You should have done your homework, he rasped. We're experts at breaking. That earned him another session with the needle. Days blurred, the chamber became his world. The alien commander, whose name was something like Vractal, though the translator only caught half of it, returned often. Always calm, always patient. But something unexpected happened on the fifth day. Rains was half-conscious, slumped in his chair when the door hissed open. He expected Vractal. Instead, another alien stepped inside. Smaller, leaner. Its carapace was patterned differently, streaks of silver instead of dull black. Its 4 eyes glowed softer, less harsh. It carried a data pad and moved with a certain stiffness, as though uncomfortable being here. You are Daniel Rains, it said, voice softer, the translator humming differently. I am Nexara, analyst. Rains squinted, another bug with questions. Nexara tilted its head. I am not a soldier. My role is study, not cruelty. It tapped the data pad, pulling up images. Maps of Earth, footage of human resistance strikes, clips of civilians sabotaging supply lines. Nexara's mandibles clicked uneasily. Your people should not be able to resist like this, and yet they do. Rains gave a dry chuckle. Guess your war college didn't prepare you for pizza delivery bombs and candy ambushes. Nexara's eyes flickered, uncertain. I read the reports, but seeing you... It hesitated, then lowered its voice. Commander Vractal believes humans are reckless animals. I do not. I think you are dangerous because you are adaptable. Rains raised an eyebrow despite the chains. Is that supposed to be a compliment? An observation, Nexara said. One I must make before my people make another mistake. It leaned closer, lowering its voice further. You must survive, Rains, not for yourself, for your people. The commander will use the children against you. Do not let him. Rains frowned, studying the alien. There was something in its voice, not sympathy, not exactly, but respect. Why are you telling me this? He asked. Nexara straightened quickly, as though realizing it had said too much. Because I am an analyst. I value accurate data. If you die too soon, I will not understand what makes your kind so dangerous. Then it turned and left, leaving Rains more confused and more determined than before. The next day, Vractal returned with new footage. This time, it wasn't the children. It was an entire town, survivors hiding in an old mining settlement deep in the Rockies. The aliens had found them. Tell us how your resistance communicates, Vractal demanded, or we will erase this settlement. Rains felt his stomach knot. He recognized the faces. Farmers, mechanics, families, people who had risked everything to resist, people who looked to him, to men like him, for hope. He swallowed hard. He couldn't give up the resistance, but he couldn't let them die either. His mind raced, think, adapt. Wait, Rains croaked. I'll talk. Vractal's mandibles twitched in triumph. Wise. Rains licked his cracked lips. You want to know how we communicate? It's not radios, it's not computers. You'll never crack it because it's older than all of that. Vractal leaned in. Explain. Rains forced a grin through bloodied teeth. We talk, face to face, word of mouth, farmers passing notes, kids carrying messages on bicycles, old ladies using church hymns as codes. You can jam the airwaves all you want, but you can't stop people from talking. Vractal's 4 eyes flared with fury. It slammed a limb against the wall, leaving a dent. Lies. Truth, Rains shot back. And that's why you're losing. You keep looking for networks, signals, tech, but we don't need any of that. We've been fighting wars long before we invented radios. You think you're advanced? You don't understand primitive. Vractal's mandibles clattered in rage. It gestured and the footage of the settlement vanished. We will verify if you lie. Rains leaned back, letting the chains dig into his wrists. You'll kill us either way. At least now you know why you'll never win. That night, Nexara returned. You are insane, the analyst whispered, scanning him with its data pad. You taunted him, you gave him hope that he understands your methods. Rains coughed weakly. Good, let him waste time chasing shadows while my people figure out their next move. Nexara studied him in silence, then said, almost reluctantly, Your species frightens me. Rains smirked. Good, it should. 2 days later, everything changed. The ship shuddered violently, alarms blaring in alien tones. Vractal stormed into the chamber, mandibles flaring. Resistance attack! They have found us. Rains's heart surged. The resistance, here, how? The commander turned toward him, fury burning in its eyes. You led them to us. Rains spread his chained hands. I'm chained to a chair, genius. How exactly would I do that? But his mind was racing. If the resistance was bold enough to strike an orbiting hegemony vessel, then Earth's fight was far from over. The walls shook again, harder this time. Sirens blared. Nexara burst into the chamber, clutching its datapad, eyes wide. They've breached the hangar, human saboteurs, dozens of them. Vractal's mandibles twisted into something that looked like rage and fear combined. Then we end this now. It drew a sleek, curved blade that pulsed with energy and stalked toward Rains. Your people will watch you die. The blade hummed as Commander Vractal raised it. Blue light shimmered along its edge, vibrating with lethal energy. Rains braced, jaw tight. If this is it, at least it won't be slow. But Nexara moved first. Commander, wait! The analyst stepped between them, mandibles clicking in distress. Killing him will accomplish nothing. We need him alive for study. Vractal's 4 eyes flared. Move aside, analyst. This human has poisoned our campaign long enough. The ship shuddered again, this time so violently the lights flickered. A distant boom echoed through the hull. Nexara's datapad displayed lines of alien text, glowing red. Hull breach in hangar bay. Resistance forces advancing. Commander, if we kill him now, we learn nothing of how they tracked us here. Vractal hesitated. Rains saw it, that split second of calculation. The commander's kind didn't act without weighing consequences, and in that hesitation the chamber door blew inward. Human fighters poured through the smoke. They weren't soldiers in uniform. They were miners in scavenged armor, farmers with rifles, mechanics wielding jury-rigged explosives. Their war cries were ragged, desperate, but loud enough to shake the alien walls. Rains's heart leapt. They came for me. Vractal snarled in his own tongue and lunged forward. Nexara shoved the commander's arm, deflecting the strike just as a grenade rolled into the chamber. The explosion blasted the wall apart, throwing Vractal against the ceiling. The humans surged in. Rains, someone shouted. A burly man with soot-streaked skin and a plasma rifle cut down a guard with a burst of stolen alien fire. Get him loose. 2 resistance fighters rushed to Rains's side, cutting the restraints with bolt cutters. His arms screamed as blood rushed back into them, but he forced himself up. Good to see you, Ortiz, Rains rasped, recognizing the man. You're late. Ortiz grinned through his grime. Traffic was hell. Vractal rose from the rubble, mandibles flared wide. It let out a screech that vibrated through the chamber. More alien soldiers poured in behind it, rifles raised. The firefight erupted. Blue plasma bolts seared the air, slamming into walls, burning flesh. Resistance fighters fired back with everything from hunting rifles to stolen alien weapons. Sparks and blood filled the chamber in equal measure. Rains grabbed a fallen rifle, ducking behind cover. Nexara crouched near him, clearly unarmed, datapad clutched like a shield. What the hell are you doing here? Rains shouted over the noise. I prevented your execution, Nexara said, voice strained. Now I regret it. You and me both, Rains muttered, then popped up and fired. A plasma bolt grazed his shoulder, searing the skin. He bit back a cry and kept firing. Ortiz shouted across the chaos. We need to blow the core, can't let this ship regroup. Rains's stomach dropped. Blowing the core meant no one walked out alive unless they found escape pods. But it also meant the hegemony lost a battleship. Do it, Rains shouted back. Buy Earth some breathing room. The resistance pushed forward, laying down suppressive fire. Vractal fought like a demon, blade flashing, cutting down 3 fighters in seconds. Plasma bolts didn't seem to phase its armor. Rains knew they couldn't kill the commander here, not with what they had, but maybe they could trap it. He grabbed Nexara's arm. You know this ship, closest escape pods. Nexara's eyes widened. Why should I help you? Because if you stay here, you burn with the rest of us. For a moment, Nexara hesitated, then it tapped rapidly on its datapad. This way. They ran through smoking corridors, past twisted alien corpses and fallen humans. The air grew hotter, alarms screaming in alien tongues. Somewhere deep in the ship, explosions thudded in sequence. Ortiz and his squad were planting charges. Rains's lungs burned. His wounded shoulder throbbed, but he kept moving, dragging Nexara when it slowed. They burst into a circular chamber lined with pods, sleek, insectoid vessels clinging to the walls like cocoons. "Pick one," Rains barked. Nexara hesitated. "These are coded to our DNA." Rains shoved him toward a pod. "Then you're coming with me." Behind them, Vractal's roar echoed through the corridor. Rains spun, rifle raised, but the commander was already charging. Energy blade raised high, mandibles shrieking. Rains fired until the rifle clicked empty. Plasma bolts slammed into Vractal, scorching its armor, slowing it but not stopping. The alien barreled forward, blade descending. Nexara shouted something in its own tongue, voice sharp and desperate. For a fraction of a second, Vractal slowed, its 4 eyes flicking toward the analyst. That was the opening. Rains swung the empty rifle like a club, smashing it across the commander's mandibles. The blow barely staggered it, but it bought him 1 second. 1 second was enough. He slammed a fist on the pod controls. The hatch irised open. He shoved Nexara inside first, then dove in after. The hatch sealed just as Vractal's blade sliced sparks across the pod's hull. A jolt, a roar of thrusters. The pod tore free of the ship. The stars wheeled madly outside as the pod spun through space. Rains clung to the seat, chest heaving. Nexara clutched the controls, mandibles trembling. Then the battleship behind them lit up the void. The core detonated in a sun-bright blast. The shockwave rippled outward, shredding smaller vessels, hurling the pod like a leaf in a storm. Rains squinted against the light, jaw clenched. Earth's sky had gained a new star that night, a burning wreck, a symbol. Ortiz and his team were gone, but they had taken a hegemony battleship with them. Silence fell again inside the pod, broken only by the hiss of systems stabilizing. Rains sagged back, exhausted. Nexara stared at him, 4 eyes unblinking. "You destroyed one of our warships with farmers and mechanics." Rains gave a ragged grin. "Told you, primitive doesn't mean weak." Nexara's mandibles clicked in a way Rains hadn't heard before, almost like laughter. "You are either brilliant or insane." "Why not both?" They drifted for hours, the pod tumbling through the upper atmosphere. Flames licked its hull as gravity dragged them down. Rains fought nausea as the ground rose fast beneath them. "Brace," Nexara shouted. The pod slammed into a frozen forest, skidding across snow and soil before crashing to a halt. Metal groaned, systems flickered and died. Smoke filled the chamber. Rains coughed hard, forcing the hatch open. Cold air blasted in, sharp and clean compared to the stench of alien steel. They staggered out into a wilderness of pine trees and snowdrifts. The sky glowed faintly with the fireball of the destroyed warship, a burning scar across the stars. For a moment they just stood there, breathing alive. Then movement caught Rains's eye. Shapes emerging from the trees, human shapes, guns raised, faces grim. "Drop it," one shouted. "Step away from the bug." Dozens of resistance fighters surrounded them, weapons trained. Their eyes burned with hatred, not at Rains, but at Nexara. "Wait," Rains shouted, stepping in front of the analyst. "He's with me." "Like hell he is," a fighter spat. "That's a bug, and we don't take prisoners." The barrels of a dozen rifles leveled at Nexara's chest. Snowflakes swirled in the cold night air, glittering faintly under the burning streaks left by the ruined alien battleship. The pine forest was alive with shadows, men and women in scavenged gear moving like predators. Their rifles didn't waver. Every sight was fixed on Nexara. "Step aside, Rains," a fighter barked. His face was lean, scarred, eyes bloodshot with sleepless fury. "That bug dies here right now." Rains raised his hands, putting himself squarely between Nexara and the guns. His voice cracked from exhaustion, but it carried. "You pull those triggers, and you kill the only reason I'm standing here alive." "Alive," another fighter spat. She jabbed her rifle forward. "That thing's kind tortured you. We've all heard what they do, and you expect us to believe it's different." Rains clenched his jaw. His shoulder burned from the plasma graze, his ribs screamed with every breath, but he stood tall. "Yeah, different. This one didn't have to stop its commander from cutting me in half, didn't have to show me the escape pods, but he did." The first fighter sneered. "Bugs don't save humans, they use them." A low hum sounded as Nexara activated its datapad. Alien glyphs flickered across the screen, casting a pale glow. Its voice came low, careful. I understand your hatred, I have studied it. But if you kill me, you lose knowledge. I know hegemony tactics, codes, locations, things your resistance needs. The crowd stirred uneasily. The logic was solid, but the rage was stronger. One man stepped forward. His coat was torn, his face weathered, beard streaked gray. He carried a revolver, not a plasma rifle, an old weapon, but steady in his hands. His eyes burned not with rage, but with grief. My daughter was on one of their transports, he said quietly. We never saw her again. Tell me, Rains, why should this one breathe when she does? The forest went silent. Only the crackle of distant fires broke the stillness. Rains swallowed hard. He had no easy answer. He thought of the boy and his sister, of Ortiz, of all the people already buried under alien steel. Then he forced himself to meet the man's eyes. Because if we kill every bug we see, we're no better than them. Because maybe, just maybe, keeping this one alive means your daughter didn't vanish for nothing. The man's jaw tightened. The revolver wavered. Then he lowered it, slow, deliberate. The crowd murmured, torn between fury and reluctant trust. Finally, the scarred fighter spat into the snow. Fine, but if this thing so much as twitches wrong, I'll put a bullet through its skull myself. The camp was hidden deep in the mountains, a cluster of old mining cabins reinforced with scavenged steel and camo netting. Smoke from their fires was carefully funneled through rock chimneys to hide it from alien drones. Inside one cabin, Rains sat on a cot while a medic wrapped his shoulder. Nexara stood nearby, datapad clutched like a lifeline. Every eye in the room flicked toward him with suspicion, every hand hovered near a weapon. Ortiz wasn't here, he'd died on the battleship. That wound cut deeper than Rains cared to admit. But the fighters who remained looked to Rains now, whether they wanted to or not. He had brought down a ship. He had come back alive. That made him something close to a legend. But legends didn't get to rest. We're running out of time, one fighter muttered. The hegemony'll hit back hard after losing a battleship. We need to move before they glass these mountains. Rains grimaced. Then we make it count. Nexara says he's got intel. Let's hear it. The room bristled, but no one stopped the analyst from speaking. Nexara projected a hologram from his datapad. Blue light filled the cabin, showing a rotating map of Earth. Points of alien strongholds flared across the continents. These are the command hubs, Nexara explained. Each controls local patrols, supply chains, communication. Your attacks are effective but scattered. If you strike these hubs simultaneously, their coordination will collapse. A woman snorted. Simultaneous strikes? You think we can just stroll into 5 different fortresses with sticks and hunting rifles? Nexara's mandibles clicked softly. Not sticks. Ingenuity, that is your strength. My people underestimate it. They believe technology wins wars. You prove otherwise. Rains leaned forward. What's the closest hub? Nexara highlighted a point in the Rockies. Here, old Air Force Base, reinforced but vulnerable to infiltration. Rains studied the glowing map. His heart hammered. He knew the place. He'd been stationed there once, years back. He knew its tunnels, its choke points. He looked around the room. We hit it, and when we do, we show the whole planet the bugs can bleed. 2 nights later, they moved. Snow lashed against their faces as the resistance trekked through the mountains. Rains led the way, Nexara behind him, wrapped in a stolen cloak to hide his silhouette. The others muttered, but no one stopped him. The base loomed below, a fortress of steel and alien energy shields layered over old human structures. Patrol lights swept across the snow. Rains crouched behind a ridge, scanning. We can't take them head-on, but, he glanced at Nexara, they still using local supply runs. Nexara hesitated, then nodded. Yes, human vehicles bring resources daily. Rains grinned, then we hitch a ride. The plan was dangerous but simple. They ambushed a supply convoy at dawn, trucks manned by exhausted human collaborators. Rains hated the sight of them, men who had bent knee to the aliens for scraps. Still, he couldn't afford mercy. The convoy fell quickly, no alarms raised. Within the hour, Rains and his squad rolled toward the base in stolen trucks. Nexara sat in the back, datapad humming, feeding false signals to the alien scanners. The gates opened. Inside, the fortress buzzed with activity. Alien troops marched in perfect lines. Drones hovered overhead. Command towers pulsed with light. Rains's stomach churned. This is suicide. Then he reminded himself, Good, that's what they expect. The trucks pulled into the depot. Guards began their inspections. Rains kept his head low, heart pounding. Now, Nexara whispered, tapping his datapad. The scanners flickered, confused by scrambled data. The guards hesitated, then waved them through. Rains exhaled, adrenaline surging. They were inside. The fighters split quickly, planting charges, sabotaging systems. Rains and Nexara pushed deeper into the base, through corridors humming with alien tech layered over human concrete. They reached the command hub, a chamber glowing with holographic maps, alien officers directing patrols. Rains froze, among them stood Vractal, burned, scarred, but alive, its 4 eyes locked on him instantly. "You," Vractal hissed, mandibles flaring wide. "The ghost of the ruins." Rains raised his rifle. "Miss me." Vractal drew his blade. "You will not leave this place alive." The alien guards turned, weapons raised. Nexara stiffened, caught between his commander and his unlikely ally. And the charges planted by the resistance ticked closer to detonation. The command hub pulsed with alien light. Holographic maps glowed across the chamber, outlining every human city under occupation. Troops barked clipped orders in their insectoid tongue. And at the center stood Commander Vractal. Scars scorched across his carapace from the battleship blast. One eye burned brighter than the others, repaired with some cruel cybernetic implant. His energy blade hummed, lethal as ever. When his 4 eyes locked on Rains, silence fell. "You should be dead," Vractal hissed, "but humans always crawl back from the grave." Rains leveled his rifle, adrenaline surging. "You'll wish I hadn't." Around them, guards shifted, mandibles clicking. Nexara froze between them, datapad trembling in his claws. His eyes darted between his commander and the human he'd risked everything to save. Vractal's mandibles spread wide. "Analyst Nexara, step aside. You have done your duty. Now watch as I end this infestation." Rains's finger tightened on the trigger. He didn't expect to kill Vractal. The commander's armor was too strong, too fast. But maybe he could buy enough time for the charges to do the work. A low beep echoed from his earpiece. The countdown, 2 minutes until the entire fortress went up. The fight erupted in chaos. Alien guards fired in unison, blue plasma scorching the air. Rains dove behind a console, bolts sizzling past his head. He popped up and fired. His bullets punched through one guard's chest, dropping it in a spray of ichor. Vractal moved like lightning, blade carving through consoles, sparks showering the chamber. Resistance fighters stormed in from the rear, guns blazing, shouts echoing off the walls. Nexara's mandibles clicked frantically. He tapped his datapad, scrambling alien comms, sowing confusion in their ranks. "Rains," he shouted, "if we stay here, we die." "Yeah," Rains grunted, firing another burst. "That's the plan." Vractal roared and lunged. His blade carved through Rains's cover like paper, forcing him back. The commander swung again, slicing a support beam. The structure groaned. "You think your bombs will save you?" Vractal snarled. "We have conquered 97 worlds. You are nothing but vermin." Rains spat blood, defiant even as he dodged. "Funny, vermin usually outlive their exterminators." The firefight raged. Resistance fighters were cut down one by one. The timer ticked, 1 minute left. Rains's rifle clicked empty. He tossed it aside, grabbing a fallen alien sidearm. The plasma pistol hummed in his hand, unfamiliar but deadly. Vractal advanced, relentless. Every strike forced Rains back, each blow rattling his bones. Sparks rained, alarms screamed, the holographic maps flickered wildly. Nexara shouted, "The charges are too powerful if they detonate while we are inside." "Then get out," Rains barked, ducking another strike. But Vractal blocked the exit, towering unmovable. "No escape," the commander hissed. "Only extinction." 30 seconds. Rains lunged, firing the plasma pistol point-blank. The bolt seared across Vractal's chest, scorching deep. The commander staggered, but didn't fall. He swung, blade slicing Rains's side. Pain exploded white-hot, dropping him to one knee. Blood soaked his shirt, his vision blurred. Vractal loomed, blade raised high. "Your resistance ends with you." And then Nexara moved. He hurled his datapad, striking Vractal's face. The commander's cybernetic eye flickered, mandibles screeched in rage. Now Rains, Nexera cried. Summoning the last of his strength, Rains jammed the plasma pistol against Vractal's chest and pulled the trigger. The bolt burned through armor, through carapace, through the alien's second heart. Vractal staggered, roaring. Then he fell, blade clattering across the floor. 10 seconds. Run, Rains shouted, grabbing Nexera's arm. They bolted through the collapsing corridors, explosions already rippling through the base. Fires engulfed walls, supports buckled. They burst into the open air, just as the mountain shook. The old Air Force base erupted in a fireball that turned night into day. Shockwaves ripped through the snow, toppling trees, scattering stone. Resistance fighters cheered, voices hoarse, as the fortress collapsed into rubble. The hegemony hub was gone. Hours later, they gathered in the ruined cabins. Survivors nursed wounds, reloaded weapons, clutched one another in exhausted relief. Rain sat by the fire, bandages tight around his ribs, blood drying on his skin. Nexera crouched nearby, silent, mandibles twitching as if unsure how to exist among enemies. The scarred fighter who had once threatened to shoot him approached, rifle slung over his shoulder. His eyes were hard but not murderous. "You bought us time," he admitted. "I don't trust your bug, but he helped." Rains nodded. "That's all I ask." The fighter's gaze hardened. "Then use that time well, because the hegemony won't forgive this. They'll come back with fire." Rains looked out at the smoking horizon. He knew it was true. This wasn't victory. It was only the beginning. The next morning, Rains woke to shouting. He staggered outside, ribs aching. Scouts had returned, their faces pale. One held up a charred drone casing. Alien glyphs still glowed faintly. "They're moving," the scout said, voice shaking. "Not just one fleet, all of them, every city, every stronghold. They're preparing for full eradication." The camp went silent. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Nexera's voice came low, almost a whisper. "They are abandoning occupation protocols. They will no longer try to rule. They will burn your world until nothing remains." Rains's fists clenched, his ribs screamed, his mind spun. "Then we hit them first," he said. The scarred fighter barked bitter laughter. "With what? Rocks, Molotovs?" Rains's eyes hardened. "With everything, every trick, every trap, every ounce of stubbornness we've got left. If they want to burn us out, they're gonna find out what happens when you light a fire in the wrong forest." Nexera looked at him, 4 eyes reflecting the flames. "This is madness." Rains met his gaze. "No, this is humanity." That night under the frozen stars, Rains scrawled a message on a scrap of paper. No radios, no encryption, just ink. "To every fighter, every survivor. The war changes now. They want us gone. We'll show them we're everywhere. No base safe. No patrol secure. No sleep without fear. Nowhere is safe." He handed it to a runner, who tucked it into his coat and vanished into the trees. Within days, the words would spread across the continent. Within weeks, across the world. And the hegemony would learn that their victory had just become their reckoning. But far away on the orbiting command ship, Vractal stirred. His body was broken, armor melted, but machines hummed around him. Tubes pumped alien ichor into his veins. His cybernetic eye glowed brighter. He had survived, and his hatred for humanity burned hotter than ever. The first fires fell on Chicago. From orbit, hegemony warships rained plasma bombardments across the city's heart. Skyscrapers melted like wax, the river boiled, millions vanished in a single night of light and thunder. By dawn, the message was clear: occupation was over. This was extermination. But humanity didn't break. In the Rockies, Rains watched the horizon glow red with distant firestorms. Smoke smeared the stars. His ribs still ached, his body begged for rest, but his mind spun with a feverish clarity. "They're scared," he muttered, watching the burning sky. "They wouldn't burn us if they weren't scared." Nexera stood beside him, silent, 4 eyes glimmering in the firelight. When he finally spoke, his voice was tight with unease. "You misunderstand. This is not fear. This is doctrine. When my people cannot contain, they erase. Entire species, entire worlds." Rains turned, meeting his alien gaze. "Then your people have never fought ours before, because erasing us," he jabbed a finger toward the burning horizon, "that just gives us less to lose." Within weeks, the pattern spread. New York, Tokyo, Lagos, Moscow, plasma fire rained from the skies. Yet every bombardment was followed by something the hegemony didn't expect: retaliation. Drone convoys ambushed in deserts, patrols swallowed by forests, starports exploding just hours after reinforcements landed. Civilian survivors armed themselves with improvised bombs. Farmers dug tunnels beneath fields and turned them into traps. Hackers hijacked abandoned satellites, flashing crude messages into orbit. Welcome to Earth. Practice MAKES perfect. Every strike carved deeper into the invaders' morale. And among the resistance, whispers spread of a figure who had survived the impossible, who had walked into fire and come back. They called him the ghost of the ruins. Daniel Rains hated the name, but he used it anyway. Legends were weapons, and weapons kept people alive. Nexara's role grew stranger by the day. He provided maps of alien supply lines, vulnerabilities in their encryption, flaws in their logistics. At first, humans eyed him with suspicion. Some still wanted him dead. But when ambushes succeeded, when bases fell, when survivors cheered victories bought with alien knowledge, trust grew. Uneasy, fragile, but real. Still at night, Nexara sat apart, datapad glowing against his carapace. Rains found him there one evening, hunched like a shadow. "You're quiet," Rains said, lowering himself onto a rock. "I am a traitor," Nexara replied softly. "My kind will erase me as easily as your kind erases invaders." "You saved lives," Rains countered. Nexara's mandibles clicked faintly. "I broke my people's code. For an analyst, that is worse than death." Rains stared into the dark forest. "Then maybe it's time you stop being their analyst." For a long while, Nexara said nothing, but his eyes glowed thoughtful. Far above, aboard a dreadnought circling Earth, Commander Vractal awoke. The machines had rebuilt him, cybernetics fused to carapace, new limbs of polished steel, a voice that growled through distortion. His 4 eyes gleamed with hatred. The medics bowed low. "Commander, you live, the Council thought you lost." Vractal rose, blade crackling in his hand. "Loss is for the weak, I am not weak." He stared at the holographic map of Earth. Pockets of resistance burned red. Each one reminded him of Daniel Rains. "Find him," Vractal ordered. "Alive, I will end him myself." The war escalated. In Europe, entire rail systems were sabotaged. In Africa, oil fields were set ablaze, creating smokescreens that blinded alien drones. In South America, entire cities evacuated into jungles, leaving ghost towns rigged to explode. The hegemony grew paranoid. Soldiers shot at shadows. Officers distrusted their own aides. Supplies dwindled as convoys vanished. And always, graffiti appeared on the ruins they left behind. Nowhere is safe. But victory had its cost. One night in a frozen valley, Rains's unit was cornered. Plasma fire rained down, cutting through trees, turning snow to steam. Resistance fighters fell screaming, one by one. Rains dragged Nexara behind a boulder, heart-pounding. "We're pinned," suggestions. Nexara's eyes flickered. "They triangulated our comms. Someone betrayed your codes." Rains swore. The thought of a collaborator cut deeper than any wound. Ortiz was gone, too many others too. He couldn't lose more. He drew a knife, teeth clenched. "Then we kill them before they kill us." Before Nexara could reply, a shadow dropped from the ridge above, a resistance runner, face twisted with guilt. "I'm sorry," the runner gasped. "They had my family, I didn't." A plasma bolt cut him down mid-sentence. His body collapsed in the snow, smoke rising. Rains's blood boiled. His voice dropped to a whisper. "They're using our families now, damn them." Nexara's mandibles clicked sharply. "This is why you terrify them. Every cruelty they unleash only strengthens your fury." The ambush ended with blood and fire. Dozens of aliens lay dead, traps sprung in desperate fury. Rain stood among the wreckage, breath steaming in the cold. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from rage. He looked at Nexara. "Tell me where they're keeping the families." Nexara hesitated, then tapped his datapad. A map of orbiting transport ships appeared. "Here," he said. "But Rains, if you strike them, you will force the hegemony to escalate again. They will not hold back." Rains's voice was low, hard. "Good. Let's see how they fight when the ones they think are safe are the first to fall." 2 weeks later, the resistance launched their boldest raid yet. Hijacked alien shuttles, crudely modified with explosives, descended on orbiting transports. Boarding parties stormed corridors, freeing hundreds of prisoners. Others detonated reactors, blowing ships apart in firestorms visible from the ground. For the first time, the hegemony lost control of orbit. On the command ship, Vractal watched the flames. His mandibles curled into something between rage and joy. "Yes," he whispered. "Draw me out, make yourselves bold, it will make your fall sweeter." He tapped his cybernetic limb, projecting a map. One glowing dot marked Raines's last known location. "Prepare my ship," he ordered. "I hunt a ghost." Back in the Rockies, the resistance celebrated. Children were reunited with parents, fighters embraced. For one night, hope burned brighter than fear. But Raines sat apart, staring into the fire. Nexara crouched beside him. "You should be proud," Nexara said softly. "You have done what no species has done before. You have made my people retreat." Raines shook his head. "Not retreat, not yet. They'll come for me, Nexara. I can feel it." And as if summoned, a runner stumbled into camp, gasping, frost clinging to his coat. He dropped to his knees before Raines, eyes wide with terror. "They know your name," the runner whispered. "They're hunting you." Raines's blood ran cold. The mountains were silent again, but not with peace. It was the silence before a storm. Daniel Raines sat alone on a ridge, rifle across his knees. Snow crunched faintly as Nexara approached, his silhouette framed by the burning horizon. "They are coming," Nexara said quietly. His mandibles twitched in unease. "Not patrols, not drones, him, Commander Vractal." Raines didn't flinch, figured as much. "You cannot face him," Nexara pressed. "He is rebuilt, stronger than before. You will die." Raines smirked, though his ribs still ached with every breath. "Yeah, but dying isn't the worst thing, giving up is." The resistance prepared what they could. Mines hidden under snow, tripwires strung between trees, caves rigged with explosives. Every survivor who could carry a weapon carried two. Still, it felt thin, fragile. They were ants building walls of sand against a flood. That night by the campfire, Raines spoke to them. His voice carried across the huddled crowd, scarred faces lit by flickering flames. "They think they can burn us out, that if they kill enough of us, the rest will bow, but they don't get it. We've been killing each other for thousands of years. We know how to survive fire, famine, war. We're still here because we adapt." He lifted his rifle, eyes blazing. "So when they come, we make them choke on our ashes, and when they leave, we make damn sure they never forget the taste." The crowd roared, fists raised. Even Nexara lowered his gaze as if humbled. They came at dawn. Vractal's personal ship cut through the sky like a blade, its hull blackened with scars. Dropships descended, disgorging squads of armored troopers into the snow. Their march shook the valley. And at the center strode Vractal himself, larger, heavier, his cybernetic limbs gleaming. His blade hummed with lethal hunger. His distorted voice echoed through the mountains. "Raines, ghost of the Ruins, face me." Every fighter in the camp froze. This wasn't just a hunt, it was a duel. Raines rose slowly, rifle in hand. "Guess it's showtime." Nexara caught his arm. "If you go alone, you will fall. Let us fight with you." Raines shook his head. "This isn't about killing one bug, it's about showing them all. They need to see a human stand, even if it kills me." The battlefield was a frozen lake at the valley's heart, its surface cracked and groaning. Raines walked out onto it, boots crunching, rifle slung low. Vractal stepped forward, each stride cracking the ice. His troops ringed the valley, silent, watching. Resistance fighters lined the ridges, guns ready but waiting. This was no skirmish, this was theater. "You haunt me," Vractal growled. His cybernetic eye glowed red. "Every strike, every fire, every humiliation traces back to you." Raines spat into the snow. "Funny, I barely remember your face." Vractal's roar shook the air. He charged, blade flashing. The duel was chaos. Raines fired, bolt slamming into Vractal's chest, searing but not stopping. The commander's blade sliced through ice, spraying shards. Raines rolled, dodged, fired again, each breath ragged. The ice groaned under their weight. Cracks spiderwebbed across the surface. Vractal lunged, blade grazing Raines's ribs. Pain flared white-hot, but Raines rammed his rifle butt into the alien's jaw. The crack echoed. Vractal staggered but didn't fall. You cannot win, Vractal snarled. You are flesh, I am steel. Rains gritted his teeth. You still bleed. On the ridges, resistance fighters shouted, ready to intervene. But Nexara raised a claw, stopping them. His voice shook. No, this is bigger than one fight. Let the galaxy see it. The ice split. Water surged up, freezing cold. Both combatants slipped, scrambled. Rains's rifle slid across the ice, out of reach. Vractal loomed, blade raised high. This ends now. Rains's hand brushed something under the ice, one of the mines they'd planted earlier, frozen beneath the surface. His mind raced. He slammed his fist against it. The explosion tore the lake apart. Ice shattered, water geysered into the air. Both fighters were hurled skyward, silhouettes framed in fire and spray. Rains hit the ice hard, pain screaming through his body. Vractal staggered, armor cracked, ichor spilling, but he was still standing. Bleeding, broken, but standing. Rains forced himself up, lungs burning. His knife was in his hand now, his last weapon. Vractal sneered, mandibles dripping. A knife against me. Rains grinned through blood. You'd be surprised what we can do with sharp sticks. He lunged. The blade sank into Vractal's throat, through carapace, through circuitry. The commander roared, convulsed, swung wildly, then fell. His body crashed through the ice, vanishing into black water. Silence. Then a cheer erupted across the ridges, echoing like thunder. Rains collapsed to his knees, gasping. Nexara rushed down, catching his arm, hauling him up with surprising strength. You are insane, the analyst whispered. Rains coughed blood, grinning weakly. Yeah, but it worked. The galaxy changed that day. News spread not through official channels, but through whispers, stolen signals, hacked networks. Stories of a human who faced a commander of the hegemony and won. Of farmers and children turning invaders into prey. Of Earth refusing to die. On occupied worlds across the stars, other species listened. And for the first time, they wondered, if humans can fight back, why can't we? Weeks later, Rains stood on a ridge above a valley of survivors. Nexara stood beside him, still alien, still uneasy, but no longer alone. Below, camps buzzed with life. Fighters trained, engineers built, families rebuilt homes under the shadow of wreckage. Humanity was not just surviving, it was adapting. They'll come again, Nexara said quietly. Rains nodded. Yeah, and when they do, they'll find a planet full of ghosts. He turned, voice carrying across the valley. Remember this day, remember what we've shown them. From now on, they'll never sleep safe, never march without fear, because nowhere in this galaxy is safe from us. The cheer rose like a storm. Far beyond Earth, in the dark between stars, other empires listened. Some trembled, some sharpened their blades. And on the edge of known space, something older stirred, watching, waiting. Humanity's reckoning had only begun.